Good morning everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today is part 2 of working on my panel, the bunnies playing in the woodlands. Now the panel is printed by Susanna from Vintage Blend Studio. That's the name of her channel and her website. All the links are below if you want to go and check out her channel if you don't know who I'm talking about. And also a link to her website where you can purchase this panel. Now, if you've missed part 1, this panel is actually the size of a generous tea towel, and I've cut it down and recomposed all of the elements that came from the fussy cutting out of everything. There were a heap of words that created a poem in amongst the images, of which I plan to just fussy cut out these two. Beneath the leaves, bunnies play. So beneath the leaves is going at the beginning, bunnies play is going at the end here. So everything then, once it's collaged and stitched and embellished, this will be rolled onto a little spindle. My spindle is 6 inches and I think this was 22 inches once it was, completely reassembled into a new piece. I've got a piece of wadding at the back. It's just a scrap left from making a quilt many years ago. So it's just basically a rectangle, and I've placed all of the elements back in a new position, so to speak. Not fussy cut. I've invisible stitched 4 rows of stitching through just to hold everything where I want it. Okay, so what I'm thinking is I'm going to start with the background and try and get some texture in there so that when I start embellishing some of these elements, that's already behind everything, if that makes sense. So what I have here is some lace, which has come from some blouses. So that's sitting here. I went to my fabrics and pulled out 2 pieces just at random that I feel match the tone. I'm not sure how they'll be all used, these pieces, but I've got some fabric. I then have a cupboard, which is things I've thrifted in the way of linens, as in bed linens, pillow slips and clothing, that all sort of sit together by colour. So there's all sorts in here, from felt through to shiny fabrics, all sorts. So these are also part of that, some linen and some shiny fabrics. So there's a bit of everything. Just a colour palette is all I'm looking at this stage. I've also gone to where I keep my little bits and pieces of wool. They're here. Not sure how they'll go because I don't have a lot of them. Like, I love those two for leaves, but I don't have much of it. There's only little patches of them. So at this stage, they're sort of sitting there, but we'll see. I think I have to delve more into those sort of textiles. Now, I then went looking for some softness, and I've got this container here that contains sari silks. So I thought maybe when we get to the forest floor, I could bring in some of these tones, but who knows. There's a beige. So they're sitting there. I've also grabbed some cheesecloth. And this is a little bit of netting that I saw sitting in amongst this sort of products. So that's the softness. Got a pin randomly sitting there. So we'll put that there. So I've pretty much got fabrics, laces, and I might get to berries. So I went to my bead cupboard and I grabbed out those 2. I can't decide if the berries are going to pop and be bold, or they're just going to be something you notice as you wander your eye across. So therefore it has to be more of a blended colour. And I found this unusual purple I've never used, and I have a copper. This colour palette I thought might have something in it too. So I sort of just grabbed it as I came to the desk. But I sort of looking at it, I don't think so. But anyway, we will see. I'm liking these. Now, background. We need to lay pretty much everywhere texture. So what colours are we going to do and how are we going to do it? I'm thinking we start with this. We'll start up high, say through here. And then maybe we darken it up as we go lower. So this is really just making the piece feel yummy and unusually textured, if that makes sense. So I'll just start by putting a chunk of this here. We'll come right across the top there. And then we'll cut back areas to expose. I'll just go straight for the moment. That's a good start. And then trim out areas of interest, like we want the bunny ears to be exposed. So I'm just going to snip around. Now you could do this in lots of little itty bitty pieces, which is a bit of a thing I do, but I might just aim for nice big pieces. Those flowers I'm not too worried about in the leaves because I'll be creating over that. I might just thin this out a little here, and that can go through to their pins. So it's like a wash of cheesecloth going across. I'll pull back from those ears a little bit so it doesn't look so crowded. At the end of the day, it's just a hint of things. It looks a little bit cut, so we'll just soften all that. That's better. Now these little pieces can slide in amongst it. Then there'll be invisible stitch again. It's another little piece that can go down into there. See, this is how we're going to hide the fact that there's these seams everywhere. Sort of get myself a piece, have a look at the gap underneath and do a rough cut to suit. So at the top, it's quite light. And we'll get muddier and darker as we go down. Completely changes the feel of a piece. That's the beauty of doing images from nature, because you can really explore textures and get away with a lot more, I guess, varied interest. That's got a seam there. Might get rid of that because I can see that that's a itty bitty selvage. Buried detail. lots of little detail elements buried within the piece that as you roll it out, it just is like a mush of interest. Another thing you can do with this cheesecloth is you can dye it. If you're not quite happy with the colours, you can create a little bit more, tonal by drizzling some coffee or tea, or pull out some paints. Once he's stitched, I think he'll feel a little bit more part of it. But we'll just fussy cut him out like we did the bird, I think. Not worried about covering leaves because they'll be coming in over the top of it anyway. Okay. Now we've got quite a big area here, so we might do the same thing. We'll just... I'd love to get some more colours of cheesecloth too, just to build the... Where's my bits? Where's my pins? Build the colour palette up a little bit, because I tend to go and use... There's the pins. I tend to use it a lot, especially when I do, nature type products, pieces. There's a bit there that can go there. I'm sort of thinking that these plants here are going to be so dense, and this will be dense, that I don't think I need too much more. Okay, let's get you across the top here. Oh, now the washing machine's beeping. Gosh, 20 minutes goes fast. Like I had 10 minutes of just trotting around the room gathering these supplies, and then what have we been going, about 12 minutes, and now the washing machine's done. Bring that into there, little mousey. I like how the cheesecloth is gripping to the background fabric really well. So that just gives us a bit of a softness. Let's get a bit of that through there. Completely changes the feel of the piece. Bit of that there. I'm trying not to be too precise. Like the more you, I guess, smoosh it in around more organically, the better it looks. At the end of the day, it's stylized too, so you can get away with a lot more if you're being more of a stylized piece than, precise representation of the elements. You guys know what I mean. Okay, so I'll sneak down here, but that's probably as low as I want to go with this tone. I want to get sort of a bit more moodier and darker. So where else do we need to go? Might come back up here. We'll work a little bit more through there, because this is sort of up in the trees. Well, not the trees, there'd be Now I was thinking about these little leaves. Susanna's drawn them with quite a sharp, pretty little edge on them. I'm not going to be able to achieve that with this technique. So I'm pretty much going to create new leaves of whatever comes out of the fabrics, because the ones that I've got here on my desk are very heavy. This one will fray a lot. I always pull it out, but I haven't used it much yet. It's sort of one of those fabrics that catches my eye. It comes to the table, but I never use it. I haven't yet found a good use for it, because it's so, what does Catherine say, tricksy? Like it sort of disintegrates a little bit, but we'll revisit it because you never know. This might be the piece. Washing machine will stop soon. I don't know if you guys can hear it beeping. Okay. Now, let's have a look at you. This is where we start bringing in other colours. So it gets a bit darker and moodier. That's good. Look at all these pins going in. Oh my goodness. That's okay. We will be fine. Let's do a little piece through there. I'm sure if I went looking, I'd find some more fabrics too. But, you know, you get confused enough. I'm better off at least starting with what I've got, and then you look at it and you go, you know, I could do with a little bit of this, or shame I didn't have some green sari silk. But it's all good. Use what you got. Make it work. Start building up around these bunnies. A swoosh of green going through there. Along the bottom. Must have had an internet fluctuation, because I've just looked up at the TV to see if you guys can see what I'm doing, and it's no longer mirroring my iPad. So that usually means the internet's had a bit of a hiccup. So what we might do here is start now laying back on ourselves. Okay. Now here, we might just keep it consistent with green. Yeah. Okay. So when I stitch all this down, I'll be able to manipulate it so that if it's covering a bunny or, you know, a face, or I can just sort of maneuver it a little as I do these invisible stitches. And we'll bring it past the edge. Of the piece, and then bring those back up a bit. So it's a lot bit layered, a little bit more interesting there. Doesn't have to happen everywhere, but that's got potential. Okay, so we've need a little bit more there. We've dusted it with a colour wash. Cream at the top, greens at the bottom. So now we'll revisit a little bit of lace, I think. It's like a background treatment, isn't it? Might go past that a little, like so. So when those mushroom stems go down, there's green in behind them. I probably find that as I create the features, like the plants and things, a little bit more of this will come back out just to sort of thicken things up a little. I'll leave it at that. Now, what I want to do is have a look at this guy. This is where I can get a little bit of darkness in. Like peeking out from where plants would be. It's just a different tone. So I only need a little bit of it. This is the shading, so to speak. All of the shady areas. Now under the bird, I would have thought there'd be a bit of a moody, shady area. It'll take the freshness away. The good thing about this product too is I can still see the design, so when I come to create my berries, I can sort of peek through and see that, you know, there's where the berries are to go. Now you could go to great detail and use paints again to get even more shading. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep it pretty simple, organic. Try not to overthink it a bit. So let's go along here. That there could be a bit of a shady zone through behind all these plants. When will that washing machine stop? Did it just stop? I think it did. Must go for like... Nope, there it goes again. Oh, I tell you, that thing. It's like it's talking to me. I hate buzzers and binging at me. And okay, so we've got this little dusty grey sneaking through. Now the lace, being that it's completely random to the environment of which we are in, doesn't quite make sense, does it? I think I'll keep the lace to the very top of the piece. Gotta have some lace. I'm sure I'll need to put more of this cheesecloth in, but this is a good start. There we go. This netting, I don't mind a bit of that coming through, but we need to make it feel quite organic, and it's stiff, and I don't know if I'll be able to achieve that, so I'll give it a bit of a rough cut. So it's very angular, doesn't have this feathery soft. Oh, that's okay. Just bits of it, but don't go overboard, Corrine. And we'll aim for quite dark areas. We'll aim for up and deep behind bunnies and it's a waste if it sits under that leaf, so I might just snip that out and bring it down. Use it to its full advantage. Oh, come on, pick it up. Wonder, where did I get this cheesecloth from back in the day? Where did that bit go? Lost it. There it is. I'm just wondering if I could find some more earthy tones. I should just dye some, hey? Have a little play with some inks. One should be brave. One should try these things. So slowly building up the forest floor. There we go. Now you could go really wild with this texture business, like really, you know, layer upon layer upon layer. Not a problem to do that. That's a good start. That's used those soft earthy tones, so we'll put them aside. Let's have a look at this lace or netting, or there's a spot. No, spot doesn't look right. Netting doesn't look right. It's this lace. Where's the side seam? We'll enter via the side seam. I like this little motif. It's quite petite. So maybe we can just pull a couple of these out and just work them in randomly. Like there's another plant popping into the scene. That's what I'm thinking. And if we rotate them around to different angles and shapes, it'll look like they're all different, but we know they're not. So I might nibble out a few. We'll keep them right up on that top edge. It wouldn't be a Corrine piece if it wasn't for some random lace where you would least expect to see random lace. Go pull some pins out from behind and bring them forward. Otherwise, I'm just using pins. Yeah, I like that. happy, happy. So you probably need 1, 2, 3. We've got words up there too, so maybe we should bring those in to find their home while we're piecing. There you go. We don't need much lace there, do we? I'll stitch you in this. So we might just get one more, and then we might break it down a little. No, I don't know. I think I'm just going to leave it as it is and just poke it in there. I think it's, I sort of feel like I could put a bit through there. Let's have a look at this other lace. What have we got here design-wise? See those little soft pieces there? Let's just nibble you out of there. Okay, these are good. They've got a softness about them and they're small. And they're like able to be just popped in around. Got a bit of a froggy voice today. I hope I'm not coming down with something. I've been out gallivanting a bit, yibby yabbering all over town. So it's just possible that my throat's just a bit aggravated. What did I do with my bit? I hope I'm not getting something. Had a few dinner invitations. What you doing? Come over. I've just cooked chicken soup. Oh yeah, I'll be there. See you in 20 minutes. Those type of invitations are the best. When you look at your own dinner sitting in the fridge and you're like, nah, I'm out of here. I'm going to get chicken soup. And it was the best chicken soup too. It was just, everyone was just not even talking. We were just into that bowl. It was really, really good. Haven't had a nice chicken soup like that for a while. I'll pop you over there. Let's sneak you in a little bit. Okay, move it along and we'll have a little look up this way, around little birdie here. I think we could sneak some more shrubbery. It's upside down. No. It's the type of pieces you could just keep adding and adding to. I could just, where do you stop? There we go. We've got a little bit of lace peeking through. Yeah, I like that. Put the lace away, Corrine. Don't need it. Now, let's have another play with the ground and have a look at this sari silk. Is it too dark, strong? I feel like we could be a little braver. It's so bold. I don't know. What about this tone? I think I'll know once I choose the leaves. All right, we might start with the berries. So we have a couple options. Do we do a linen, which will fray and look messy? Do we do a heavier cordy type fabric? It's not a denim, but it's cut a random leaf. Yeah. So that's our leaf fabric. I've got plenty of it so we can cut away. But we want to make it a little bit tonal, so we won't use that, it's too fresh. We won't use that because it's too shiny. But this here might be a good sister. Is that the same? That is the same. So we don't need you. I think you're a little fresh too. But you have potential. These are just pieces I've picked up at the thrift store. This looks like it's a curtain valance or something. Like there's 2 pockets. Yeah, this is a curtain. So I might just slither. Just bear with me a bit, guys. I'm just going to cut a smaller piece off because it's just too big and I don't need my workspace. Oh my goodness, it's meters. Yeah, what we'll do is smaller, more front positioned leaves will be the paler fabric. That'll help build up, you know, layers. So now it's just a case of random fussy cut threads. The other fabric that has got potential is one of these as well. Let's just get a few leaves into position. Well, first let's just cut a few leaves. Okay. Probably the best way to do a leaf, if you want to be safe and get them right all the time, is cut a rectangle. And then you just create your leaf from there. So you could do a heap of rectangles, all similar size, like so. I guess it gives you a little bit of consistency. If you just free-form cutting straight out of the fabric, you might get frustrated with it going pear-shaped on you. So doing a rectangle, I think, is not a bad way of keeping yourself on a similar sort of shape. I might make the ones that are darker a fraction longer. So then the paler leaf can be the new growth and the darker leaf is in behind. It makes it a lot quicker when you sort of do it this way too. I'm probably putting the horse behind the cart here a little bit because I really should be stitching down all the elements on the background, but that won't take long. So I thought we might have a play with the leaves at the same time. You're a big leaf, so you need to be a little bit smaller. And then I might end up lifting all the leaves off, create a container of little leaves, and then work my way through the area. There's a good container. Work my way through that zone with all these little leafy bits. Now, to give it a little bit of more interest, it might be a case of I put some stitching into the leaves, which I'd say I will. They're sort of going in all directions here. It's a thick, brambly. So I'm sort of just, I guess, creating the idea with you, and then I'll settle down with the needle and thread and actually get them into position. Depending on how they look, it'll be a little fly stitch or feather stitch in the centre of the leaves. It just really depends on how the piece comes together, doesn't it? I might bring you up. I'm going to change the design a little bit here, I'd say. Get more of a, because they're bigger than Susanna's. So the space that Susanna's allowed around each leaf suits that leaf. I've got these different style of leaf, so I've got to adjust accordingly. So my bramble bush will definitely look a little bit different. There we go. So the leaves will work. Pop that there. Now let's have a look at those beads, because I think we can get the berries in position. So we do some little copper berries. Yeah, I like that. Just puts that little bit of bling in there. Or, God, we better test the other one. We go the purple. No. It's just the wrong tone. I think too that they're matte. If you're wondering what size, there's a 9 on there, so I'm guessing 9 mil. They don't look like 9 mil. Like 9 mil's pretty big. I'm going to spotlight have put a sizing on those, because often I get asked that too. No. Oh, 3 mil. Oh, okay. And it'd be one of those things, the bigger they are, you know, when the numbers go in reverse, maybe? I don't know. 3 mil, and is that a 9? Yeah. I don't know if that helps you. All About Beads website, based in Brisbane. So those little beads will definitely be the way I go. Little copper ones. That'll be pretty. I'll find something for the branch. Could be black. Don't know. I'll get the leaves in place. It could even just be a very heavy green. I don't need all of this fabric, so we'll take this little piece with us and we'll cut a little bit off of this, I think. There's not that many leaves. All right, so now let's have a look at those leaves around the what do they call those things? Oh, I've gone blank. Dandelions. They have a very distinct shape about them. So I'm pretty sure I'll need to honour that shape. Will this disintegrate? I bet it will. Sort of feel like I don't have the right colour. Let's have a look. If this frays to pieces on me, I'll have to go further afoot and see if I can find something else. But I do like its colour. Let's see if we can reproduce a dandelion leaf. How's she done it? She's done it very wonky. About that size. Don't pull the thread, girl. Look like a dandelion leaf. It's not bad. With some stitching in it, I think we're pretty good. Probably just need to make it a little bit finer at the top. Get a little bit more of that wonky feel about it. Probably mine was a little bit chunky, so a bit finer. And there we go, one dandelion leaf. Let's get you down. So there we go, we've got some dandelion leaves. So I'll just get the rest of those in. Some behind there. There's more of these. So there's going to be a wash of leaves go through. Now the oak leaf underneath, I'm going to need a little bit more of that green because there's quite a few of those dandelion leaves. I love it when I can just get a little piece of something out and then get the rest away. It's like decluttering. I'm not one for having a messy workspace. I do, but I'm pretty quick to eliminate clutter because it sort of interferes with, I guess, my process of figuring things out. I just don't know if I'm going to need these. I'll let them hang around a little bit, but I'm thinking I won't need them. So we've got a little pile of leaf matter. So these maple leaves, should we look at the wools? I don't have a lot of maple leaves. I just don't know if I'm ready to use them. And the other thing is they're very blocky colours. Maybe there's something in my cupboard I just didn't spot when I went grabbing. I'm wondering if I look a little bit further. I sort of don't even mind that tone. If that was a little bit wider, that I could get. It's very creased, so I'd have to iron it. Can I be cheeky and get maple leaves out of something like that? They don't have to be maple leaves, they can just be leaves. I think it'd be too... Let's assume that I've ironed it. Let's cut a bit of a leaf-like shape. See, it's very frayed, it's silk, so it's potentially just going to disintegrate on me. But I had a thought. What if I get a bit of a leafy shape at the one end and I squish it in at the bottom? And instead of a maple, it's just this random plant. And if I can find other tones, maybe, I think it'll be too tricky to contain myself. Oh, I don't mind it, you know. have a little fiddle before we part company. Seeing we're talking leaves. Let's see if we can pretend that's ironed. Curve. I'm just coming out of shot to cut it because it's really fraying and so very, very tricksy. But I do like the movement it gives. So if we've got a curved end, it's probably the length of my thumb. So it's substantially long, but with a curved end. And we bring them all into that one spot with some stitches. Maybe we can create some form of leaf matter. It doesn't have to be maples. Susanna won't care. She'll be sitting there going, there she goes, off on another tangent. And with some random stitching in there as well. I will probably just invisible stitch it for now, unless I know that the mushrooms can easily get in behind. But I'm thinking the mushrooms are coming out of this. Maybe that darker sari silk that I had out a moment ago could be utilised in this. So just a random roundish sort of blob, leaving a bit of a point. Where was I going to put you? Up into that zone. Keep going. Maybe I won't need to iron them. Maybe I'll just let them look more crumpled. Which way are they going? Doesn't really matter, does it? Because I'm breaking the rules already. I can see that that leaf is under there still. So I'm wondering if once I get these down into position, I can get some of that chocolate toned silk through. Let's give you a bit of a shape. It's a lot coarser. Just a little bit. It's a very potent colour. So maybe we can do things like sneak you through the back. So we're getting a bit of tone. Well, we're just playing. We'll see. We'll see how it comes together. I think I'm going to be bolder. I think this is such a strong colour and I've been frightened off by it, but I think I'm being bolder. These are ruffled little mulchy. Yeah, it's mulch. It's like at the end of the day, the mushrooms grow out of mulch. So maybe this will work. See, we can justify anything, can't we? So this episode really is about all of the leaves. And then we'll come back and leaves and berries. There's acorns in amongst there that are probably going to get lost in the wash here. But anyway, we know they're there. Probably will forget them. The other one that I have is this pinky tone. Would that be crazy? Another layer of tonal colour. Why not? Throw some stitches in there. I'll fiddle around with all of that, but I'm thinking we're getting a bit of a pile of mulch happening here. I like that chocolate actually. It's really, I think it looked too bold when I laid it down there, but I think it's holding its own with these mushrooms potentially coming out of it. It sort of makes a little sense. Just can't stop. I think I have a plan, but I think we have a plan, Stan. Could fiddle around with this for ages, couldn't you? That might do. I think there was a pin in there, wasn't there? Yeah, there you are. Let's do you again. Bring you up there to catch that little bit. Yeah, so we've got a pile of mulch happening over here. We can repeat it. Let me get rid of all these little bits before they stick to everything. We can repeat that in around this mushroom. So that'll give us a little bit of consistency through there. They're sitting in a bit of a pasture, but that doesn't matter too, because maybe we can bring in some of these. We will see. Well, I might leave it at that. I know it's all going to be about building up leaves, adding the berries, and then, oh, the flowers. These. I will most likely use wool and do some nice big bold lazy daisy stitches to start bringing in some embroidery. Maybe wool is the veins. Maybe it gets chunky because this is feeling really chunky. So possibly. I might lift those off because they're not pinned, and you know what'll happen. I will walk across to the couch, hey fudgy, and all of these bits will be everywhere and I'll be missing leaves, fudge. Everything else is pretty secure. All right, guys. Well, I will catch you next week. I will toddle off, do a little bit of stitching. Where's my other words? Actually, let's get that in before it gets lost as well. I've forgotten. Here we go. All right, that's it. That's a good start. Foliage, greenery, and everything in between. So, a bit of that, little bit of that, and a little bit of that can all go in my creative pile. Put that away. I think those wools, we'll just leave them kick around because maybe they're mushrooms. I don't know. That. All right, guys, I'm ready to take my project and go and do some homework. All right, look after yourselves. Have a lovely week, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.